Welcome to Hideaway Range. So what do we have here? Is it a Mauser? Well, yes, no, kinda. Let's talk about it. So at first glance, of course, it does look like a Mauser because it basically is a Mauser, but it's not a Mauser in the sense that it was made during World War II. This particular rifle here was made probably 1950 to 1952, and it's not a battlefield capture, and it's not chambered in 8mm. So right here on the side of the receiver, it gives it away. This is a Fabrique Nationale d'Armes de Guerre. Forgive my pronunciation, please. From Herstal, Belgium. So this is the Fabrique Nationale Arms of War. F&N made a whole bunch of these Mauser clones. After World War II, F&N and some other armors got a hold of all the old Mausers, the old Mauser parts, the old Mauser factories, the old Mauser tool and dies, to basically produce these Mauser clones, which is what we're looking at right here. So this rifle was made by F&N, but it landed in the Israeli army. And I think that says Zava Hahagana Israel. So literally the army for the defense of Israel. It's the palm tree and a sword inside the Star of David. And as you can see, this is chambered in 7.62, so that would be 7.62 by 51 NATO. I'm not sure if this rifle was produced this way, straight out of F&N, or this could be an early batch where they sent out, because they did send out most or quite a bit of their Mausers in the 8mm configuration, and they were, a lot of them were later rebarreled, especially the ones that went to the Middle East, just to make them easier to shoot the NATO cartridges. Although F&N did produce some for their own military, um, that also were in 7.62 by 51 NATO. So on the side here, you can see the Ketz, which is an abbreviation. There's two Hebrew letters. That basically just means army property, I think. Maybe somebody could enlighten me in the comments. I don't speak Hebrew. I just looked a lot of this up. There's the serial number, which pegs it between 1950 to 1952. On the reverse side of the barrel here, we have R7.62 and some other markings here. The R, I'm guessing, means that this was repaired or refurbished or rebarreled into 7.62. So that kind of lends credence to the idea that this was a rebarrel, either by F&N or later by the Israeli military. I can't make that out. I think that's probably a crown right there. I think that's a mark, possibly from the Belgian armory at Liege. Just marking their own proof mark to it. There's a couple other marks over here. I'm not sure if you can see them. Here's a little bit closer view of those. They're hard to make out. Some of them kind of bury down into the stock. More close-up of those marks there. And again, I'm not sure what these are. I think these are probably proof marks, either further proof marks from the Israeli army or more likely from the Belgians. Just a little closer look at those. Anybody has any idea what those marks might mean? Let me know in the comments. The trigger guard here is the winter configuration. It's stamped sort of in this long oval triangle-ish shape for a gloved hand to go in there. So this is the winter configuration, used for more like winter climates or colder climates where you might have a glove on and need extra room to get inside that trigger guard and pull the trigger. It functions just like any other Mauser. It's got the 3-stage safety. It's got all the other Mauser features, except some of you may have already noticed it's missing the cleaning rod, which should go right here underneath the bayonet mount. You see there's a hole for it, but it is not there. It's got the typical Mauser sights, and it's a bolt action rifle. And again, this one's going to fire 7.62 by 51. You can see, again, someone has carved or stamped 7.62 in the stock. Another indication that this was possibly rebarreled at some point in time. You know, maybe it's possible in the 1950 to 1952 range this came out of the F&N factory at Herstal and went into the service with the Israeli army, and then at some point they switched it, rebarreled it to 7.62 in order to make it easier to find ammunition and service parts. It's just as likely that it came from F&N in this configuration. But with the stamps on it and the stamp on the stock, it kind of leads me to believe that this was rebarreled at some point. It's a bare bones Mauser clone. There's not a lot to it. The Israelis used this in their war for independence in the late 1940s. They used it in the Suez Canal incident. I think that was in the 50s. I'm not a historian, I don't know. But they pretty much stopped using the bolt action rifle in the 60s. They went with the FNAL and then later the Galil, which are, automatic rifles. They did have, some of the outposts, the civilian militia, the police that had some of these old bolt actions, but by the 1970s, 1980s, they had surplus these and put them on the market for import. So the ones that came to the United States, hopefully you can see this, they got engraved right here under the barrel with the importer. In this case, it's going to be, it says CAT, Georgia, Vermont. Later they spelled it out, or they spelled it CAI. This is Century Arms. So the spelling CAT like that puts this import probably around the mid to late 1980s, possibly the very early 90s, but after that, Century Arms changed the way they labeled these for import. So just like many of these Mausers and Mauser clones that served in the Middle East, once they became obsolete, they went into the surplus market. And that is how this one ended up in the collection of a friend of the channel who actually loaned me a couple Mausers and some other interesting guns we'll cover in the future. So stay tuned. We'll take this out to the range and we'll shoot it. It'll take 5 rounds. There's a spot for a stripper clip there, but I don't have it, so we'll load them one by one. All right. Strips up the round like that. With this up like this, it won't shoot. This is safety. And if you go all the way over, it's fire. 1950s F&N Mauser clone. Saw action in the Israeli army. Even though it's from the 1950s and it's seen a lot of action, it shoots just fine.